Okay, so we're going to be talking about the door schedule and looking at your floor plan, your first floor plan. In most cases, your floor plan is probably looking like this. It doesn't, it may have door tags on it or it may not. If it does not have door tags on it, I may have suggested that you actually hide those in the view. And if I did, that's just simply a matter of clicking on the door tag, right-clicking, hide in view the category, right? And then they're all gone. They're still there, but they're gone. So if you opened up your first floor plan and you looked at it and you don't see any door tags, they're still there. They're just hidden. And also, if you go over to the project browser and went down to schedules, door schedule, you'll see that a door schedule has been created already. When you put a door in, it automatically puts it on a schedule. And so there is some information in an existing schedule that was part of the template. So let's go back to that floor plan again. And in this case, I need those those door tags back on. So I'm going to hit the little light bulb here at the bottom, and it shows me that the schedule, what things are hidden within the drawing. And if I click on one of those tags, I can unhide in the view, unhide in view of the category. They should disappear on this screen. When I turn the light bulb back off, they should be on my sheet. Okay. So first off, some things come in and it tries to place the door tag in the center of the door typically. And in some cases, when that door tag's in the center of a door, it may become hard to read because of other things that are in that space. So in some cases, you might want to take these door tags and kind of move them off a little bit to make them a little more readable. Actually, exterior elements, I like to tag those to the outside of the building. So if it's an outside door, I want the tag on the outside of the building. Same thing with window tags. I want those to be on the outside of the building. So if you do move them just to make them easier to read. In this case over here by my front door, I actually have a tag that has no number in it. If I take that tag over, you'll see that it has like a question mark in it, so it doesn't have a number even. So I'll have to actually put a number in there. That's actually a door that's in a curtain wall, right? We created a curtain wall for our front door, and it didn't know how to number that curtain wall door, so I'll have to put a number in there. And I could put a number in there. And I'm just going to put in 101. Okay, so you can number a tag that doesn't have a number in it. Okay, so that leads me to a numbering system. When we start putting doors in, Revit randomly throws numbers into those door tags. They are not necessarily the right numbers. They're just numbers. Okay, so we want to make sure the sequencing of our numbers is correct in the way that we want it to be. So we're probably going to end up editing every one of those numbers. So on multi-story buildings, commercial buildings, or in this case an apartment building, main floor doors will be numbered 100 through whatever. So they'll all be 100 type numbers. On the second floor, we'll have all 200 numbers. If it had a 3-story building, they would be 300 numbers. Make sense? So then you can easily identify from a schedule that that door is on the 3rd floor, or that door is on the 1st floor or 2nd floor. Okay, so in this case, my front door, or the main door coming into my vestibule, is going to be my door 101. The door inside of that, then the one that goes from the vestibule into the corridor, I'm going to make that 102. And I'm going to move that a little bit so I can make it more readable. Now you might say, well, those two doors are really the same. Why did I have one 101 and one 102? Because they really are the same type of door. But are they really, in fact, the same type of door? Let's go back to talking about these two doors. They're really both the same in that they both have side lights on either side. They're both glass doors. They're both in aluminum frames. But what is different about those two doors? Well, one's an exterior door and one's actually an interior door. Is that right? The outside door probably has insulated glass, and the one on the inside is probably just a single pane glass, right? Because there's no reason to have insulated glass in this one. Also, would they have different hardware? Would the one on the outside be just a push-pull type hardware with a door closer on it, so there's no real key to opening that door so that the mailman can get into the vestibule to put mail in the mailbox? But the one going into the corridor is a security door, and therefore it has a call system connected to it. It has an electronic strike and things like that. So it has different elements to it, so therefore we want to label them different as well. Okay, we'll go to the back of the building. The back door over here is actually the same as the front door, so I'm going to make that a 101. And this is a case where it's going to warn me. It's going to say elements have duplicate marked values. Okay? And that's okay. It's just saying that two doors have the same number to them. And I'll just say okay. I'm not worried about that. Again, I'm going to move that one so that I can make it a little more readable. I'm going to go to this interior door here, and that's going to be 102, right? And again, it's going to give me that warning, and I'm just going to say, okay, I don't care. I'm going to move it a little bit so it's more readable. Okay, then I'm going to go to my stairwell door, and I'm going to click on that. And I'm going to make that 103. Move it a little bit. If this drawing was at a larger scale of a 1/4 inch, I probably wouldn't have to move those around, right? It's because of the scale of our drawing. So if that's a 103, the other stairwell door will also be a 103. And it'll warn you every time on those. Okay, so at this point I've only labeled the doors or changed the numbers on the doors that are in the common space, right, in the corridor space. I haven't gone into each unit yet, and we'll talk about those a little bit later, but at this point I've changed the numbers on just the doors that are off the corridor or the vestibule. Okay, let's go to the schedule then and look at that a little bit. And since those were 100s, they'll be at the bottom. And I have 2 101s, 2 102s, 2 103s, a 104, a 105, and 4 106s, right? Now I don't want to list them all individually like that, so I'm going to go to the properties of the schedule, and I'm going to go edit the fields. No, I'm going to edit the sort by group. Okay. There's fields, filters, sort by, formatting, and appearance. I'm going to go to the sort by, and down here it says itemize every instance is checked, and I'm going to uncheck that because I don't want to itemize every instance of every door. So I'll say okay, and at this point you will see that I have 101, 102, 103, 104, 105, and 106. So now I don't see that I have 2 of each of those or 4 of the 106s. So I may need to add something to my schedule so that I can tell how many of each of those doors I have. So now I'll go back to fields on the properties, and I'm going to add something to my schedule fields, and that is count. That's the number of each door type. So I'm going to click on count, and I'm going to add it to my list of headings across the top. And I don't want it to be the last one, so I can move it up, and I want it to be near to the front. mark, type mark, and then count probably. We'll maybe have to adjust that a little bit, but I'll say OK. And now you'll see I have door number, door type, and count. And if we go down to the bottom here, you'll see that on my 101s I have 2 of those, 102s I have 2, 103s I have 2, 104s I have 1, 105 I have 1, and 106 I have 4, right? So now it's making a little more sense. Now we have a door number and a door type. And door typed, in this case, they're giving us a number for door type. They're saying it's a type 83 or a 68 or something like that. And that really doesn't mean anything to me. Under door type, I might want to say different types like full light door or a flush door or a panel door or something like that would make sense to me as a type. Does that make sense to you? That the type of door would identify how it looks, maybe? On the other hand, do I even need that category? At this point, I'm just going to eliminate that category. So I'm going to go back to fields. I don't think I need to know that for my schedule. So on the schedule fields, if I go to type mark, I can remove that from my fields and say OK, and now that one's gone. I don't need it in there anymore. Okay, so that's one way of getting rid of something or adding something to your schedule. Now under door size, down here on that 101, which didn't have a number originally because I had to add a number for that, it's telling me that it's a size curtain wall. Okay, curtain wall, single glass with frame. Now that's really type information for me. It's not really size information, but we'll just leave that for now. I think I've talked about this before, but a curtain wall system is something that's going to be supplied by a subcontractor that does glass framing systems, and they're going to design that and furnish it for the project. So we'll just leave it like that for now. The other ones, 103 is a 36-inch by 80-inch door. Makes sense. That's 3 foot by 6 foot 8. All of those are 3 foot by 6 foot 8, so they're okay. Okay, the manufacturer is another column we have here. We have a model, we have a frame type, we have a fire rating, a head and jam details, and some descriptions. On different projects, you might include all of these. Manufacturer, we'll leave that in there. Model number or model name is something I don't want to see, so I'm going to remove that. Frame type I want to leave. Fire rating I want to leave. We're not going to create the details of the jams and so forth of the door system. So in this case, I'm going to delete those. This would, if you did have, if you went to the door company and you imported their details of how this fits into the wall system, you could identify on here that there's a head detail on, it's detail 6 on page A7 or something like that. You could put that in here. We're not going to put that in on this project. And there is a column for description, and we'll leave that. So let's go back to our fields. We've got the mark, we've got the count, we've got the manufacturer. The model I'm going to remove. The frame type I'm going to leave. The fire rating I'm going to leave. The head detail I'm going to leave, delete. The jam I'm going to delete. The sill I'm going to delete. Description I'm going to leave. The finish of the door I'm going to leave. The frame material I'm going to leave, and comments I'm going to leave. Description I'm going to remove that. I don't need all of that information, so I'm going to say OK. Now I have a simpler headings on my schedule. I have door number, count, door size, manufacturer, frame type, fire rating, the finish of the door, the finish of the frame, and comments. Okay, so looking at my door number We'll start with door 103 because that's not a curtain wall door. And we'll say that the manufacturer, and I can type in here, the manufacturer, we could go look up doors in the Suites catalog or online, and I'm just going to dictate to you that we're going to buy these doors from Bayer Built, who is a company out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. So they manufacture doors for all kinds of projects. So we're just going to say that this is a Bayer Built door. Okay, it's a Bayer Built. As soon as I click away from that, every door of that type just got labeled as a Bayer Built door. So some of these other ones are different types. We'll talk about that a little later. Frame type. So again, I'm looking at door 103. If I go over and choose a frame type here, I'm going to say that those frames, these are all the common doors to the corridor, and they're all fire-rated doors. So they need a fire-rated frame, which is going to be a hollow metal frame we're going to put in, similar to the ones we have in the classroom here, the hollow metal type frame. So I'm just going to put in HW, capital HW as hollow metal. Under fire rating, this 103 was the, was that the stairwell door, I believe? That has to have a fire rating of 60 minutes. So let's type in 60M. Okay, so now all of a sudden we have a bunch of 60-minute doors. We may modify that a little bit later. The door finish, that would be the finish of the door. Is it going to be a wood door with a stained finish, probably? Or is it going to be a steel door? In this case, we'll say they're going to be wood doors. It's an apartment building, it's residential. We want to make it not so industrial looking, so we'll say that those are going to be a stained door. Okay, the frame finish, though, is a hollow metal frame, so that's going to be a painted finish. And under comments, I could list something else. I'm going to add one more column here. I just decided that I need another column into my schedule. So I'm going to go back to my fields, and I want to identify the type of hardware that's on this door. And if I go over and look down through my list of choices, I don't see anything about hardware. There's nothing in my available fields that relates to hardware. So right here I have a little button that says add a parameter. I'm going to click the add parameter, and the name of this field that I'm going to bring in is going to be hardware group. Hardware group. Now it's a hardware group because doors have more than one piece of hardware on them. They have a latch set or a handle. They have hinges. They may have a closer on them. In the case of the stairwell door, it probably has a magnetic hold open, right? Because of fire, it has to go shut, right? So it has different pieces of hardware. So it's a hardware group. The discipline is just common. The type parameter is not length, but the type parameter is a text, right? It's going to say, no, it's not text, it's going to be a number. Okay, it's going to be a hardware group number. Okay, and then other parameters, I'll just leave that blank. Is it an instance parameter or a type parameter? So the difference between instance parameter and type parameter, you noticed when I made those doors 60-minute doors that a bunch of them became 60-minute doors, because all doors of that type then got identified as 60-minute doors. If it's an instance parameter, I can have two doors of the same type having different hardware on them. So I want to make it an instance parameter. Okay. So I've created that parameter. Now I should be able to go over here and find it.
It's already over on the other side.
Oh, it's already over here. Okay, thank you. Okay, so it automatically threw it into that side because I wanted that. And I don't want that to be at the bottom. I want to move it up to just before we get to comments. So frame material, then the hardware group. And then I'll say OK, and there it shows up. Now on my stairwell door now, we know that it's a 3068. We know it's going to be supplied by Bayerbuilt. It has a hollow metal frame. It's a 60-minute fire-rated door. The door itself is stained. The door is painted, and it's going to be hardware group 3. And I just randomly picked 3. So you might say, well, what good did that do me? What good does it say that it's group 3? Well, a project of this size would have a spec book with it, right? And a spec book would be where you would find information about the hardware groups. In the spec book, you'd go to the section on hardware, and you would find that group 1 has this kind of hardware, group 2 has this kind of hardware, and group 3 has this kind of hardware. We're not creating a spec book, but we're creating the steps that would identify that someone creating the spec book has to identify what group 3 is. Okay, so at this point in the drawing, we're just making it possible to create a category. Under comments, we could have several different types of comments on doors. In this case, we might, the hardware group might specify this, but this is a place where we could say magnetic hold open. Required. Okay? And that might be something that keys the electrician to know that he has to get wire there to wire this electronic hold open, or the fire alarm system people. So that's a way that you're going to identify things like that. Okay, door number 104 was the laundry room door. We could, and I'm not going to go through all of these, but in this case we might identify again that it's a Bayerbuilt door. This is an instance parameter on the type frame, so if it didn't show something in there, I can make it a hollow metal frame. If I want that door to be stained, I can put in stained. It's already there. I can just click on it. If the frame is painted, I could put that in by clicking that. So these are instances that I can identify. Now, if the hardware group is 3, oops. In this case, this would not have the same hardware on it that the stairwell door has, right? The stairwell door has different hardware probably than this one. So in this case, this might be hardware group 4. And I don't have any special comments for this one, but we're just saying that that probably has different hardware than the other one. Door 5 was what, the mechanical room door, I believe? Now that's a 3068. In this case, it's a Bayerbuilt door. It has a hollow metal frame. But in this case, it's not a 60-minute door, it's a 90-minute door. So if I change this one to 90-minute, what's going to happen? They're all going to change to 90-minute doors, okay? Because that was a type parameter, not an instance parameter. So I want to undo that and get that back to a 60-minute door. And what I'm going to have to do is make that door a different type, or adjust that 60-minute to a instance parameter. If I go back to my fields, And under my fire rating, I can't edit it. It won't let me edit that. So I'm going to have to do some other adjustment here. Okay, so this door 105, which is our mechanical room, I want to make that a 90-minute door, and if I change it to 90-minute, they're all going to change to 90 minutes. So I want to go back to my fields. I want to go add a parameter. I'm going to again call it fire rating. It's going to be common. It's not going to be length. It's going to be text this time. It's going to be an instance parameter instead of a type parameter. And it'll be okay. That threw that one in there. I want this one to remove. I want to move this one up a little bit. I'll go okay. It removes all of the 60 minutes in there because at this point it's a type parameter and I haven't identified any of them as having 60 minutes. So in this case my 104 should be a 60-minute and my 105 should be a 90-minute. Now if I click on one of these other ones, I have the choice. I have 60 or 90 on any of these other ones. Okay, so and if I wanted to create a 2-hour door, I could. Okay, so that's a way of solving that. Okay, door 106, again, we're going to put a hollow metal frame on that. This one is going to be the 60-minute door because it's a fire-rated door into the corridor. I guess both of these were going to be stained doors. The frame on both of these is going to be painted. The hardware group on the mechanical room door is going to be a hardware group 5, and the hardware group on the apartment entrance door is going to be a hardware group 6. Other than that, no special comments on any of those. And I'm going to talk about we're gonna have to edit other things in the schedule, but you get the idea of how to modify things within the schedule. At this point, we have a lot of door numbers which we're changing because within each unit now we've got bedrooms and we've got bathrooms and we've got closet doors, right? And we're going to renumber those and make those similar, so all the closet doors of the same size will be a door number, all the bedroom doors will be a door number, and the bathroom doors will be a door number. That will make our schedule much smaller, and it'll just tell us how many of each of those we have, right? So when we go into the units, I'm not going to label the ones within the units as 107, 8, 9. I'm going to just label those as 1, 2, 3, 4. Because the doors on the first floor apartment are actually the same doors that are on the second floor apartment. So a bedroom door is a bedroom door, whether it's on the first floor or second floor. So we'll leave those as just 1 through 10 or whatever they end up being. And our schedule will get much smaller, and it'll just tell me that, okay, let's say the bathroom door was door number 3. It's just going to tell me that I have 8 units, so I have 8 bathroom doors, right? And that's going to eliminate 7 of these lines and give me just 1 line with the count of 8. So you'll be able to do that on your own. All of the doors within the apartment units have no fire rating. They're just hollow core doors. They will have, instead of a hollow metal frame, they're going to have a ready frame. A ready frame is still a metal frame, but it's a snap together frame that's put in after in the finishing process versus a hollow metal frame which is put in earlier in the project. Hardware groups will also adjust. So let's talk a little bit about the headings across the top of our schedule maybe. So I want to modify the appearance of my schedule. So I'm going to hit the edit the appearance column, and under the appearance, my heading text down here is Arial and it's 1/8 inch for my headings. I'm going to change that headings to 3/16. And I want my headings to be bold. Okay. The body of the text, that's where you're identifying all the different doors. I'm going to leave that at 1/8 inch, not bolded. I want to put an outline around my schedule that's darker than the lines of the schedule. So I'm going to put an outline around it, and I'm going to make the outline wide lines. So it's going to make the outside perimeter of my schedule darker. Guidelines are thin lines. In our schedule that we see here, there's kind of this blank gray row between my headings and my body of my schedule, and I want to eliminate that. So I'm going to, it says blank row between data. If I uncheck that, say okay, that goes away. Let's go back to the appearance again. I think I've got everything covered here. We could underline my titles if I wanted to. I don't think I want to. And I'll say OK. Now up here where my title is, where it says door schedule, to make it stand out a little more, I'm going to make it all capitals. Okay, so the title of the door schedule is going to be all capital text. And then I'm just going to go back to my schedule, door schedule itself, or I'm going to go to the sheet that the schedule is on. So we have a sheet that automatically is part of the template, and that's in this case A15. If I click on that, we got several schedules that have popped onto the sheet, but if I zoom in on this, we can see that the title is bolder, the counts are, or the headings across the tops are a little bit larger than they were before. And in this case, we're seeing something like door number and the R is below. If we click on the schedule, we've got these little grips and we can adjust how that looks. So manufacturer, I don't want to drag that out anymore, but I might want to abbreviate the word manufacturer. I can't do that here, but let's go across. Hardware group is coming out kind of weird. I can drag that out a little bit. Okay, so we need to do some adjusting right here. So I want to have the word finish up here and then as part of this and not under door and frame both. So if I click on this and ungroup that, and I click on this one and ungroup that, now if I oops. Now I want to group those. Okay, so now that I've grouped those, I want to click in this space above and type in the word finish. Okay. Over here, I want to get rid of the word finish. I don't need the word finish over here at all. So if I click in this top one and ungroup it, that gets rid of the word finish. And that solved that problem. And now my schedule is the way I want it to be, other than the fact that I have a lot more work to do in the schedule.